All right, let's do this very quickly because I had a very long day. I finished the Bttrfly Lampshade by Amy Bender. Final chapters here, thus talked about. She's the memory tent, as she's kind of calling it at the end, helps her recall that trip on the train, and very odd figures. One of a woman knocking on the thing, asking for paper, and then of a guy who's kind of a very kind of flashy suit, but he's asking tickets, please, tickets. And she suddenly realizes he's not kind of like the conductor, but he's somebody who's like got desperation in his voice. He's looking for a ticket, and she remembers fishing out some pieces of paper and giving them to him, like, just kind of making tickets to help him, and then him disappearing, and she and the steward guy, searching the train and not being able to find him. But it's this odd thing. So there's that kind of inexplicable stuff. And, there's a couple of things in here, which is just the inexplicable, which I think is a really good use of what I would actually call magic realism. Not, Gandalf shoots sparks off of his fingers, or there's some kind of, there's a fairy or something like that, but just like inexplicable things that happen, and that kind of lodged in her as this uncanny, unreal, what she was talking about earlier about, like, how it's cute in stories when things come to life, but in real life, if something like that happened, it would be horrifying. And there's that same sense of like inexplicable things happening. It's not cute. It's something that's lodged within her, and that she's processing. And we do have a resolution to, in the present, of Vicky sleeping over and the door unlocked, and Vicky coming in at the the next day, kind of like after she's had these flashbacks about the train, and saying, it's like, see, you didn't kill me, you're not an axe murderer, and her and Francie kind of going, oh, actually the point of having someone lock me in was actually that there would be somebody there to unlock me at the end, that there'd be somebody there for me, which is, we're all going kind of the axe murderer kind of, she was talking about burning her babysitter, or stabbing infant Francie in her fontanelle. But no, maybe there's an actual more benign reading of the whole thing, which was interesting. And so the story ends with her going with her mother taking her to the airport at the end, like accompanying her to the airport, and goodbye. And, her mother saying, like, oh, well, the reason I was afraid of planes is because I had a real vivid memory of a horrific plane crash. And it's not like I think I'm psychic or anything. It's just, it really freaked me out. And she always assumed that it was Uncle Stan's idea to do the train just as a more gradual transition, a slow transition from one life to another. But it was actually hers all along. And she gets in contact with the babysitter, and the babysitter volunteers, actually, can I send you the lampshade? And at first she says no, but then she says, no, actually, I'd appreciate that if you would. And she does send it, and it's this kind of very much a lot smaller lampshade than she remembered. It's kind of faded, and it's very 80s, kind of dated, and she kind of looks at it, and it no longer has that charge. It no longer has any kind of like charge to her, and she puts it on her website and sells it within the hour. And it's sort of like, and her Vicky says, like, oh, you feel like something's washed out, or you've been washed, kind of a little bit, you've been kind of, I guess, process stuff. She says that she feels like she's actually lives here now. she's arrived here now, whereas she wasn't here before. And Vicky's like laughs and says, it's like, well, you sound like you're living in a different dimension. And Francie's like, spoken like someone who's always been here, not like her. So yeah, that was the Bttrfly Lampshade. I'm still thinking about it and whether it was interesting. It was interesting. I don't know if it was emotionally, to me, it was kind of a book about a woman kind of coming back into the world. So I don't know what you can say about that. But yeah, that's the Bttrfly Lampshade.